Good Friday afternoon and evening to everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Us being, Victor will be here in just a moment. I think he's running behind at a meeting. If you haven't been with us here before, my name is Darren Pope. Again, Victor Farsick will be here in a moment, and we are the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox. And on Fridays, we do this DevOps Paradox live show just to talk about the things of the week and the news that we've seen. And this week's episode about the podcast was Knative in Action. We talked with the author of the Manning publication. What was it? Knative in Action. Jock Chester. And we had a good talk with him. And if you haven't bought the book yet, Knative in Action, go check out the show notes for this week. You can go take a look at it at devopsparadox.com/103. That'll redirect you to the page. On that page, there's a code PODParadox, the number 2 and the number 0. Anything you want to buy at Manning, that gets you 40% off. And, hey, that's 40% is 40%. We don't get anything back on that. But, hey, it saves you as being part of this community 40%. So, what is up, everybody? Good to see everybody today. And, Victor still isn't here. Give me just a second. Talk amongst yourselves. Let me see if he's going to show up today or not. And if not, we'll go ahead and get started. And there's the typing notes, and we'll see if he shows up or not. Okay, so let's talk about some of the news that did happen this week. Where's my note? There it is. Okay. And I'll go ahead and get this shared, and here we go. That's not what we're going to talk about first. Let's talk about some AWS announcements this week. They introduced OpenSearch, and OpenSearch being their fork of the last version of Elasticsearch, whatever the version was of that. It was 7.10.2, which was the latest. And they also open sourced Kibana, which they have now named OpenSearch Dashboards. Now, with that in mind, actually, did he come in the back door? Oh, you know what? 6 people on chat. Man, we are on fire. That's a as Vladislav says, we have 6 people on chat. We're on fire today. So if you want to ask questions, you can ask me questions. I don't know if I can answer them or not, but let me see. You know what I didn't do? Hang on a second. Again, talk amongst yourselves. Did I not do what I was supposed to do? He might be saying, where is it? Where is it? I may not have set the invite up right. That's a very strong possibility. Nope, I did that. Okay, so he's probably just busy, and that's okay too. OpenSearch. Now, we have talked about in the past all of the things that have happened with Elastic and with Amazon. It was not a pretty sight. But now, Amazon has finally set up their repositories for OpenSearch. And one of the things that was interesting from this, this one I forgot about, we've also published permissive usage guidelines for the OpenSearch trademark. So, okay, whatever that amounts to. But they were talking about they're renaming the Amazon Elasticsearch Service to Amazon OpenSearch Service, which sort of makes sense. And aside from the name change, it's going to be the same thing going on. So, and I think they were saying eventually that this was going to be the basis of what they're running anyway. I can't remember in the document where that was. And yeah, Vladislav, I completely agree with you on this one. The marketing machine did a really good OpenSearch as in open. Yeah, they thought about that without a lot of... I'm not going to go there. I have friends that work at both places, so I'm going to keep those opinions to myself. This is also one of the other ones, too, that I thought was interesting. Organizations as diverse, which I thought was interesting to the way they said it, is Red Hat, SAP, Capital One, and Logs.io are supporting that. So this is a very interesting thing to see, very long conversation about this. How they've set it up, going with the community, all the other things. So, and again, this is a super long blog post. If you haven't had the chance to read it yet, the link to it will be down in the description after the show today at some point, probably within the hour. I've got another meeting right after we finish today. So this is interesting news, to say the least. One more thing that I saw from AWS this week that I thought was pretty interesting is Prometheus, in the latest version of Prometheus 2.26, they've now added in a native integration for the AWS Signature version 4 for authentication. And with this in mind, used to you'd have to have a proxy, a sidecar, or something else in order to write in. Now it's just native. So what this makes simple now is instead of having to do the sidecar, it will just write directly out to their service. And I thought this was pretty cool because, hey, you know, less sidecars, less moving parts, better integrations. If you've been with us for any time at all, you know that we are big on using services. There are times where services don't make sense, but for something like Prometheus, I don't want to be running my own Prometheus. Most people don't. So, you know, hey, if you're using AWS or if you're just using the managed service for Prometheus, this is probably going to make your life much easier. I haven't tried it out yet because it just came out. I think they announced this yesterday, so I haven't had time to test this out for myself. Okay, so I'm double checking on Victor. Haven't heard anything, haven't seen anything, so we will continue on. All right, so next up, this was pretty cool. And I wish Victor was here for this. And by the way, I'm going to open my drink because I've not had to monologue like this for a while. And I thought this was very interesting. I think I saw this on Reddit. And I went through it. And of course, you know, as you go through and upgrade Kubernetes, you usually have to, and I'm saying usually on purpose, you have to go from version to version to version. And this post implied in how they did things, they went straight from 16 to 19 without jumping through 17 and 18. And again, this is another extremely long blog post, but it's not so much that they were talking about going straight from 16 to 19. I knew somebody would come up with it at some point, but the company Flant is going to be open sourcing in May, and it has an asterisk on it, the tool that made it possible, and it's called Deckhouse. This is one to be watching because for the people that are slow in upgrading, not that you want to always go through massive jumps, but if there is a tool here now that helps make that possible, this is something to keep an eye on. You know, if you're already using Flant's managed Kubernetes service, it's already there. So I had never heard of them. This was, yeah, I heard about this too, Vladislav, that with AKS going from 18 to 19, there were also issues I've heard recently of people not running in the cloud, but they're running on-prem. That they went from 20 to 21 and they were having similar issues, not with Java, but I can't remember which language specifically it was, but there's some weirdness going on. So this post goes through all of the things that they went through to make this happen, and it will be interesting. And they go through the history. We've seen this image before, versions running in production. Again, this was an old survey when the latest version was 13. But they get into a part here that, yeah, here's the typical answer of what we have to do. You have to, going from 16 to 19, you have to go to control plane 17, worker nodes to 17, and then control plane to 18, and then worker 18. It's just step after step after step, and nobody would work that. And Victor's here now, finally, so now you don't have to listen to me anymore. Victor.
I'm sorry, meetings after meetings and running. I'm here.
Thank you. So I'll catch you up real quick. I talked about OpenSearch already and the AWS stuff, so no big deal. But I'm here on this Flant post. And Flant runs a managed Kubernetes service, but they're getting ready to open source in May-ish Deckhouse, which is a tool that gives you the ability to go straight from version X to version Y without having, or go from version A to Z without having to go through B to Y. And they talk about upgrades and all the other things that go along with this, but they get down to the point where they tell the whole story. This is great of how they're talking about it, but it's if this tool works the way that they say it works, now you no longer would have to go through the point by point by point upgrade.
That sounds like a nirvana.
Yeah, they did this on 150 clusters. Could you imagine taking 16 to 19 manually? Not necessarily manually, but having to go through 17, 18, 19 to 150 clusters.
I don't want to be that person.
I mean, that would be if you were doing really good, you were probably doing what, maybe 1 to 2 clusters a week? Right? I mean, just for safety and sanity purposes. Right?
And
that would
how do you verify? I mean, verifying a single cluster takes time.
Yeah.
Whether it works really or it doesn't and all that stuff. Now, whatever time you can imagine, multiply with 150 and you get considerable amount of time.
Meaning years. It would take you years to go through this.
Yes. I mean, eventually it really depends on how well you're covered with tests. It's all about tests and metrics. Tests and metrics. But if let's say that you have everything automated, tests, metrics, what's or not, and let's say that you don't want to have a huge blast radius, meaning that you don't want to upgrade everything at once, and everything is automated. So you would probably leave one cluster after being upgraded running for a day, and then proceed to the next one. And this is in case everything is fully automated, right? So I'm monitoring my metrics, I'm getting alerts, I'm figuring out that everything is okay. I proceed to the next day, I proceed to the next cluster, right? To me, that sounds as good as it can get. And that excludes that there are any issues, right? So everything works perfectly. After a day, I move to the next cluster, right? And no manual intervention, no manual testing whatsoever. So that's 1 cluster a day, 5 days a week. That's 5 clusters a week. That means 30 weeks. And 30 weeks, how many weeks do we have? That's more than half a year. Probably 7, 8 months, give or take.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I like about this is the unfortunate YAML, but it's YAML nonetheless, at least it's short. Here's the definition for Deckhouse, and you just define what version you want. And it goes and makes it so. In fact, it's so funny that if Deckhouse really works, I'm trying to find where they phrased something, because they use the word desired, which is what we hear when we talk GitOps. We hear desired is a phrasing, a word that we hear. Here it is. Change the Kubernetes version to the desired value. You can skip all the interim versions and go right to when they did it, 19. I have a feeling this is going to be on your radar in May, once they open source it. I think you're muted. You are. Oh, did I mute you?
I'm not yet convinced that skipping versions is a good idea.
No, I agree.
I might be getting faster to the end of the destination, but because eventually, if something goes wrong, you want to know whether that's from 17 to 18 or from 18 to 19. And then you want to check what changed and all that stuff.
I think you've got to do at least one. I mean, let's say you're just doing multiple clusters because of data centers, regions, whatever, right? You've got the same apps running everywhere. I think you have to go through and do one by hand, just to to find those edges. But
yes,
if you get it shaken out, then it's hopefully being able to use this easy button to get you further, faster.
Yes, I mean, but there is also the thing that Kubernetes is doing whatever they need to do to kind of like make transition from one version to another. The Kubernetes community is not really working on making transitions by jumping versions.
Well, that's
right?
true.
So,
yeah.
But on the other hand, it's 150 clusters. And if I need to multiply my calculation of 8 months by, 16, 17, 18, 19 by 3, that's a couple of years. So it's not an option, obviously.
Yeah. And Vladislav says he's getting up to 50 nowadays. So that's
Vladislav, do not wait this sufficient amount of time so you need to jump more than one version.
That means
That's
somebody's
the lesson,
probably
I think.
somebody's probably going to be upgrading all the time then. That's going to be their full-time job if you got 50 clusters.
I mean, upgrading is not a problem. Validating upgrade is work.
Yeah.
I mean, upgrading, I can volunteer to do that for free. Upgrading your cluster, this is just clicking a button, right?
Yeah. Well,
as long as somebody else is going to validate it.
Yeah, and you weren't on yet, but Vladislav brought up on AKS when they went from 18 to 19, they had Java app issues. So that's things can happen. Okay, I'm looking forward to this. Is it going to be a silver bullet? No. Is it another tool in the toolbox? Yes. And I'll take a tool in the toolbox any day.
I have only one beef with this, what I've seen so far.
Okay.
Is provider OpenStack in example. I understand that you might be having OpenStack, but I don't want to see it in public ever again.
Well, okay.
Change.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But you have to remember that they provide a managed Kubernetes service, and they're probably building it on OpenStack. But it's also weird that they have AKS. Well, I think that's actually that's the guy's name. Yeah, that's his name.
That sounds like name, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Let's move on. We've talked about Visual Studio Workspaces, which became GitHub Workspaces. Is that what it was? To where you could share?
Yes. I think it's still not public or GA,
Right.
but yes.
But now JetBrains has GA'd theirs, Code with Me. And this is interesting because it does cost money unless you already have a subscription. And I haven't tried it yet. Now, my JetBrains just renewed last week or this week.
Did you renew it?
Yeah, I did. I did one more year. Mainly because I forgot to cancel it. So I renewed it. It was $140, I think. It's not like break the bank type money, because it's personal. I've got I'm paying for the personal license. I'm not billing it in, so it's legal. In case anybody from JetBrains is watching, it comes out of my pocket. But this is interesting. So the latest builds, 221 builds of IntelliJ, Community, and Ultimate. This is what made me think about this. Is like, okay, this is cool. WebStorm, PyCharm, Goland, all the ones. But the question is, we get down here, the community plan is free of charge and gives you a great option to obtain blah, 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 blah. You can create an unlimited number of 30-minute sessions and invite up to 3 guests to your IDE. Now, if you're following, what's it called with the timer? Pomodoro.
Yeah.
Right? If you're following Pomodoro, this is a good break. It's like, okay, we got 30 minutes, go. And we work and then take a break and start up another one because you can do unlimited number of.
Okay.
Right? That's interesting. But now the premium plan is more time and space. So you can also create an unlimited number of sessions, but you don't have a time limit. That's actually negative. I like having a time limit. It's like we're being cut off. It's sort of, have you been in Zoom meetings to where you get pushed out to a room, right? You get automatically pushed out to a room and then you get pulled back in because they're controlling the room management?
Yeah, but coding kind of is different because it's not, I wouldn't be speak if we would be coding now together, right? We would not
Yeah.
necessarily speak all the time, but we would be coding in the same session and maybe not even say words to each other for a while now. But coding itself is a long session, without doubt.
Yep. But then, and that's $5 per month. I'm assuming that's per person, which isn't horrible if you're taking advantage of it, especially if we're all remote. Right? We'll assume
reasonable price.
Reasonable price.
Sounds good.
But, and this is where I was getting into, because this is it showing up? Yeah, it's showing up as gray there. Blah, blah, blah. These users have free access to premium. Anyone who has an active paid subscription, which I have a paid subscription to that because I have the toolkit. I get them all. But then also anybody that has open source licenses. So if you have access to the JetBrains suite through an open source license or developer recognition license, you get it free as well.
I have that one. I have open source license for JetBrains, which I haven't used for years, but I have it.
Yeah. And then the enterprise plan takes you up even more. Its annual user license costs $400. Okay, that's fine. It's enterprise, right? That's still nothing in my perspective, because you break that down, that's $35 a month. That's not horrible per user.
Yeah.
So
all that sounds really good. Okay, let me actually rephrase. I think that this thingy sounds great for existing JetBrains users. Now, if you're not an existing JetBrains user, then I think the JetBrains might be in a bit of a trouble with VS Code. And if you switch to VS Code, then I might have better options than that for that, right? Like I can use Gitpod or something like that.
Yeah.
And other solutions are also giving you limitation, but limitations are on a monthly basis, which sounds to me much better for me as a user. Okay, so I can have X number of hours a month. So I can actually have full day of coding session, right? And then maybe nothing for the rest of the week.
Right. I think it's something that, I don't know that's JetBrains in trouble. They may be, but let's rephrase. I'm going to rephrase your rephrase. And it's just, This is now table stakes.
That's right. Visual Studio Code basically converted IDEs into free commodity, right? Visual Studio Code is awesome, absolutely awesome. Now, I'm not going to say that it's better or worse than JetBrains, but let's put them on the same level for the sake of argument, right? And even if JetBrains is better in some areas, VS Code has amazing community, and almost every software vendor, whatever services somebody is having, first it goes today to VS Code and then everywhere else. So it has an edge over JetBrains. Not because JetBrains people don't know what they're doing, they know. Not because IDE is not great, it's great, but because of the sheer amount of integrations, community, and all that stuff. So that's why I said it's in trouble. I wouldn't like to be in their shoes. Not because they have bad product, but because somebody open sourced their business.
Yeah. Okay. It's one of those days.
One of those days.
One of those days. Kubegres. Now, we normally don't talk databases a whole lot, but I saw this week, and it's an operator to allow deploying a cluster of Postgres with data replication out of the box. It's like, oh, okay, so what? Where is it right? Where was one of his bullets? Or I lost it. It may not be on this one. It wasn't so much that this exists, but how he phrased a couple of things. Maybe it was the second bullet. It manages failover. If primary crashes, replica automatically promotes itself to primary. Right? For something that's not just an open source feature, that's an enterprise feature, isn't it? You're muted.
Oh, muted again. Yes, that's an enterprise feature. Yeah,
And it's open source. So.
That's brilliant.
So this is primarily the reason I pull it. I mean, I don't use Postgres hardly at all. The other thing that I thought was interesting with this was he called out how he created it. By the way, this site is like super 90s, maybe early 2000s. But it looks better than anything else I could ever create myself. But it was created with Cube Builder, which I had never heard of before. Have you heard of it?
Me neither. What is it?
Cube Builder is a way to be able to create operators, CRDs, all the things.
Okay.
It's just a framework to help make that simple. The way I think about it, when I read it earlier, just like how Cobra is a framework to build CLIs in Go, Cube Builder is a way to build CRDs, operators, whatever, for Kubernetes. So,
Nice.
Again,
nice.
I'm not
I need to check it out.
Yep. Well, you can check the links out afterwards too. They'll be down in the description. You already have the notes. That's my reminder right now of.
I know. That's I have the notes in advance. Still, I go every time after we stream and copy and paste links to my to-do list.
Okay. Have you bought your M1 Mac yet?
No, I don't think I will buy it anytime soon. I mean, this year almost certainly no. Mostly because I have a laptop that I don't use that
Right.
has 32 gigs of RAM, kind of like.
You don't need it. But for those of you that have purchased an M1, now there's an official release of Docker Desktop. Again, you know how we feel about Docker Desktop. It's great and not so great at the same time, I guess.
I mean, there is no alternative to Docker Desktop for Mac and
there isn't.
Windows. So it's the best we have. I cannot say whether it's good or bad. If I don't have a point of reference, if I have nothing to compare it with, then it's amazing.
Yeah. So it's there. It's GA now. I saw Brett talking about this yesterday on his stream.
Nice.
A little bit. He didn't talk about it much because he had somebody. I can't remember who he had on yesterday. A guy that's in gaming, not like video games, but like slots gaming.
Couldn't listen to it yesterday, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. I didn't see it live. I watched the replay. By the way, for people that actually aren't with us here live and you just watch the replay at 2x, trust me, our feelings are not hurt. Because I listen to everybody at 2x and watch everything at 2x. Do I catch it all? No. By the way, for anybody that's on here, I'm probably getting ready to offend you. Please don't take it as offense. But anytime somebody is on from an Eastern Bloc country, primarily Russia, I can't listen at 2x. I have to take it down to 1x. It's like it's like listening. There was a gentleman that we worked with, Francois, Frenchman, right? Francois. Frenchman.
Yep.
That was another person that I could not listen to at 2x. I had to go down to 1x and sometimes half x because like he would talk really fast. So you think about a really fast Frenchman at 2x, bring him down to normal fast, and then I have to slow it down. It was interesting.
Did you try listening to me in 2x?
Yeah, I can listen to you. Well, I have to sort of...
I don't believe it. That's impossible. Wait. No.
Yeah, I do. I actually listen to all your videos at 2x, but here's the reason why. I've been listening to your voice inside my head for the past 2 years. So my voice... So it's trained, right? So do I catch it all the time? No. Do I have to sometimes slow it down? Yes. Do I have to slow it down as much as I used to? No.
Okay. So you're trained. Good.
I'm trained. Speaking of trained, Terraform 15, now GA. And I also saw today, I need to pull it up here. I don't think I'll be able to pull it up on the screen. Terraform announced today there is a new tutorial that they just published Let me find it here because they just published it about 2.5 hours ago. Deploying infrastructure with the Terraform cloud operator for Kubernetes. In fact, I can copy the link though. I'll bring it up over here. Let me do this real quick. Even though it's the 15's out, I haven't gone through all the 15 stuff. Remote states, data source compatibility, I think this was the biggest one. And they've backported it into 14 and the latest 12 and 13. So this is good. State file format stability, because I guess somebody busted it, which is okay. Katie, if you're watching from Hashi, forgive me. But 15's out. But here's what I thought was interesting. Learn how to use the Terraform cloud operator for Kubernetes to manage the infrastructure lifecycle through a Kubernetes CRD. Does this sound like anything to you, Victor?
Yeah, it sounds like something cheap.
You think?
I know. Because basically you're not really deploying CRDs. There is no CRD for AWS this and AWS that, right? It's just a single CRD that will run operator in a cluster. And then you will still, it will be pooling basically the resources, typical Terraform stuff.
Okay.
So if you were saying sounds familiar like CRDs from CK8, no, the AWS thingy or Crossplane, no, it's not like that.
Okay. Well, I thought it might, and they do have 2 demo videos. And again, this just came out a couple hours ago, and I've been writing all day, so I didn't have time to go through the videos. Not even at 2x. Okay. Well, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it was interesting nonetheless.
Yeah. They're getting closer to Kubernetes. That's a good thing.
Okay. Copilot. Dave. Thank you, Dave. I thought one thing here that for most people this isn't a big deal, but this is actually really huge. Redirecting HTTP to HTTPS automatically for load balanced services. Now I don't know if it's a force, like you don't have a choice, you can't serve HTTP anymore, but it's called out as an enhancement. So. Yeah, that's sort of, to me, again, table stakes. HTTP shouldn't be allowed anywhere anymore.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there should be an option to, by default, it should redirect. There should be an option to use HTTP mostly for local.
Right.
No, actually, no. What I'm saying is silly, right? Copilot is not running locally.
No.
So yeah, it should be always HTTPS.
Yep. That HTTPS is now the sane default.
Yep.
Right.
In case of public services like this is AWS, it should be the only option. I need HTTP only locally. That's the only case where I need it.
Yeah. Oh, and let me go back here to something Copacetic said here just a minute ago. We'll go back to the M1 article. Docker reminds me of the old Seinfeld bit about the kid who just lets nets others use all the toys if they will just be friends in return. Okay. Yeah, I do remember that one. Okay, let me get back here. Here's the one that I thought was most interesting. Adds the Aurora serverless database as an option to storage init. Now, keep this in mind because I've got something that's not on the list that I'll have to add into the list, but I'm going to bring it up at the end.
Okay.
Private NAT gateways. So again, database support, serverless database support. The volume thing was greatly simplified for sidecars. So now you can actually share volumes between your main and your sidecar. That's good and scary all at the same time. And then there were a bunch of other things. Oh, this was funny too. Enables running the Docker daemon by default in test commands. There must be a reason, and I didn't read the thing there, and there were a handful of bug fixes as well. But this is a fairly large compared to some of the others. So new Copilot. This is one you may be interested in. OPAL. Did you look at this at all earlier this week?
No. What is it? Now you made me curious. Open policy administration layer.
We talked about OPA last week, right? This gives you a full author. This was something we were talking about last week. Who's going to bring out the first UI to manage OPA? This appears to be it.
Ah, nice. So it's a UI for OPA.
There is a UI part of it, yes. But I'm not going to go through and run the video right now. But it's that's part of it. But then there's also it's a client server architecture, which is sort of weird because it's sort of backwards. It's all Git driven. So the policy repository goes to the server, pushes it down to the client. OPA is watching that. Here's the interesting thing: is data sources can be anything. And what I see here, I'm going to blow this way up. API, database, those seem normal. Salesforce, Stripe. How are those? What? Now I guess I could see. Go ahead.
Now we know who are some of their clients. No, there's nothing wrong with it, right? They probably made a deal with Salesforce. Everybody needs to get money from somewhere. So that's the reason. There you go.
Oh, this is what I was trying to do. So getting started, intros. Unfortunately, it is Python based. Maybe.
Oh no! Close it. Close it.
I knew it was going to be. That was going to be it.
I mean, if you cannot make executable, just native executable, I don't care which language you write it. I'm pretty sure that you can convert Python into some executable.
Yeah. Anyway, here's the structure. 2 key components. Server creates a pub sub channel for clients to subscribe to, tracks a Git repository, blah, blah, blah. Data updates, pushes updates. So I don't know. Maybe I misspoke on the UI, but this seems to be another layer on top of OPA. I'm going to leave it at that. I'll let you do a video about it in 2 weeks. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
3 weeks.
I'm not sure. I don't guarantee when, but it's getting to the to-do list. The only problem is that to-do list is growing faster than we can do it. So, and there is a rule. At the end of each year, to-do is wiped.
Yep. The week of Christmas. Yeah, week of Christmas, everything gets flushed.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know what?
Okay.
Okay, so if I don't forget, and I probably will, I'll make a ritual fire on the street or something like that and burn it. Make a spectacle out of it.
Okay. So I've been thinking about this today. Have you been following Patrick recently on Twitter? Patrick Dubois? Have you been reading his stuff? I know you follow him, but...
Yeah, I am following him on Twitter, but I don't read Twitter
much.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't either, but usually because I've clicked on his stuff, his stuff gets sort of targeted towards me, I guess, because I've interacted more with him. He's doing some interesting things, but it's making me think, you do your videos, I do my videos. He's done some videos. We're talking heads. We're showing a screen, pretty much like what we're doing right now. We need to create cinematic videos. Like we need to have like full on whatever it is.
Like
I don't know
B-rolls.
I don't know yet, right? I'm trying to figure that out. You know, it needs to be like the Bourne Identity. We're in cars and all of a sudden, or Thelma and Louise, probably more like it with us instead of Bourne Identity. I don't know. I'm trying to think through that. So I've just said it. Now I have to think about it some more.
So does it mean that we should start saving money to buy drones?
Yes. Because, well, okay, so Tim Berglund, he's the head of developer advocacy at Confluent. That's the kind of stuff that he does. He lives out in Colorado. He takes his drone out. He sits by the river and does his updates. Right? It's very good stuff. But number one, he's in Colorado. But see, you're in Barcelona. There has to be some pretty places around Barcelona you could get footage of.
Especially now, when the weather becomes better, I will be more in the other place.
That's true.
Called Cambrils, and then I will start filming there. Mostly, and this is the thing, I will be filming there outside mostly because I don't have a studio type of setup
Inside. Yeah.
over there. So I will be forced to.
Yeah. You live in 500 square meters right now. There you live in what, 50 square meters?
Oh no,
I don't even know how big your place is.
I have 100 square meters, which is luxury size for Spain, for Europe.
Right. Okay. I'm not going to go any further. Okay. Amit, if you don't know who he is the person behind kubectx and kubeNS.
Yes.
He's also at Google. And he introduced this week, and he's made sure to say that this is an unofficial, meaning don't bug Google, don't bug him. This is unofficial. Well, you could bug him, I guess. But it's a service discovery and authentication layer for Cloud Run.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like them apples? Because you couldn't do DNS lookups. So he goes through, this is a great blog post. Sadly, let me get down here just a little bit further. So it's a Python script.
In the container is okay. I just don't want to
container,
run it on
okay.
my desktop,
Right.
terminal. But container, that's okay.
Yep. So here's how things would be before. Are these pictures? Yeah, they're pictures. So you would have to get a token and do the things and blah, blah, blah. Now it's just boop, and off it goes.
Nice.
So it's just the entry point. So whatever you were doing is whatever, in-container HTTP proxying and some DNS hijacking. So
Basically, what that allows you is to do the same thing what you would do normally if it would be running in the same cluster, like different services in the same cluster, just now across Cloud Run instances, which are really spread, not same cluster.
But isn't that what you want?
That's absolutely what I want.
So this flow diagram, it's pretty interesting. You hijack resolve conf, you start up a local DNS server, start a proxy, then start the user process. Then your app's running over here, and then anytime you're making a request for something, it goes out, figures it out, builds something out, connects, and off it goes.
Nice. That
think
simplifies a lot of things.
Yeah. This actually eliminates the need for Kubernetes in probably a lot of use cases. Direct interaction with Kubernetes. Maybe, maybe not. But here's...
that's actually a really good... I like that paragraph because it nails what the use case. Really, I have things running in Kubernetes. I want to move to Cloud Run, but I want everything else to stay the same. This is the solution because I can communicate with other applications as if they're in the same cluster. It's brilliant.
And then he gets into the second paragraph. This is an area we're actively investing in at Google. So hopefully this experience will be someday solved without...
So, in other words, what this means is that now we need to... This will be relevant until Google rewrites his Python code into Go.
Yeah. But I think it's, and he calls out, like he has a lot of footnotes and stuff. So to me, this is probably one of the more interesting things of the week. That's number one, Google let him publish it unofficially. And hopefully they will actually come up with it. I think he's under Steren, who is the PO for Cloud Run. That's another guy to follow on Twitter. So, okay. Let's get into your two quick videos here. And then I'm going to call out one thing that I didn't put in the notes yet that I will talk about. SRE versus DevOps. We actually recorded a podcast about this week as well. It's going to come out in a couple of weeks. I'm not going to give away anything I said on there. I was pretty rude, as rude as I can be, at least.
That's not much of an accomplishment because I didn't even notice the rudeness.
Yeah.
Okay, if I manage to teach you how to understand my accent, then I'm going to teach you next how to be rude.
I can't be rude. My mama would hurt me. And my mom is all of 4'8". I'm 6'2", by the way. So, and she can still beat me up. SRE versus DevOps boils down to this, at least for now. SRE is a real role. DevOps is somebody's made up idea.
I have a good idea, not a bad idea. Good idea.
But it's still made up.
It's an idea.
It's an idea. It's not a role.
Exactly.
And you said that much in the
another
video.
important thing is that there is no such thing. I don't think I said it in the video, but there is no such thing as DevOps engineer.
Yeah.
And that means that probably 95% of our audience is getting offended right now.
Well, that's... we try. We most of the time we aren't offensive. So in the times that we are, hopefully we're forgiven. But okay.
Hey, I just noticed. I didn't notice. Do I look like a magician now?
Yeah, you do. You have jazz hands. Jazz hands.
Look at me. Look at me.
Kubevela. So you went into OEM. We've talked about OEM before. And Kubevela is an implementation of OEM. Correct?
Yeah, Kubevela is an implementation of OAM, and it's absolutely awesome. Now it's absolutely awesome. The only thing that worries me with it, as with many other things, is that things are accumulating and are becoming more and more complex. Because this week we should implement Kubevela, next week it will be something else, and the week after that again something else. I think that we are ripe for some kind of, Google approach with Cloud Run kind of, just don't bother me anymore. Just those things just simply exist and are transparent in a way.
Yeah. Okay. Normally this would be the time where we would talk about a couple things. I want to call out one more thing. Cloudflare this week, so Vladislav, this might apply to you or other people that are actually working with application developers or with teams that are deploying applications that need to be globally distributed. Cloudflare has been running their developer week all week if you haven't been paying attention. If you haven't, I'll be sure to add, this is just the general blog that I landed on. But let me go back to where things started happening earlier in the week, and then I'll walk back to where things happened. The big one that I saw, well, it's not the big one, but this is sort of where I started paying a lot more attention. Cloudflare pages are now generally available. Our DevOpsParadox.com site is hosted on Netlify because, number one, we don't get enough traffic. Our site is static. Netlify makes it simple for that. Right? That's just what we use. Cloudflare pages is just like that. So if you're building Jamstack type sites, Netlify was one of the providers that made that simple for you, but they didn't have everything. They've been adding things much like everybody else, but Netlify does not have the footprint that Cloudflare has. And so this is now available. And they go through Developer Week, right? So this was right as Developer Week came out. That came out 1 hour before Developer Challenges. Now they've also built in location-based personalization at the edge with their Cloudflare workers. That's their serverless platform, which right now I think is just Node.js. But now you've got personalization on the edge. Then you've also got observability ecosystem. So now that's being baked into Datadog, Honeycomb, New Relic, Sentry, Splunk. Everybody is getting into their ecosystem. Then they announced this Workers Unbound. I don't remember exactly what that was about. It's been beta for a year. So just trying to get there. This is using AMP, which AMP is it's the web page thing. I can't remember what it stands for. But the new measurements that Google are going to start doing start shipping in May. And AMP is part of that, but depending on who you listen to, AMP is or not. They also added WebSocket support to workers. Are you starting to see a theme? This was interesting. I tried this out. Free tunnels for everyone. Tunneling like ngrok, like the other tools that provide tunnels. Completely free. Oh, by the way, you don't need an account to use the tunnels. Mm-hmm. I tested this yesterday. You don't need an account. There's nothing to set up. You start the binary, it sets up a tunnel. Oh, wait, it doesn't set up a tunnel. It sets up an HA tunnel. So in my case, it gave me a domain name. That domain name landed both in Newark and in Atlanta. I'm on the East Coast. I'm in North Carolina, so I'm about halfway between those two. I don't remember if ngrok does that or not, and I haven't checked the others to see if they do or not. I didn't have to set up an account.
But you know that what will companies say? It's not safe. I don't trust Cloudflare. It goes through their servers. Blah 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 blah. Well, which is silliness on their side, not to complain about Cloudflare.
Yep. So anyway, this was one of the ones that I enjoy because I need tunnels a lot for certain things that I do. So this was just, it gives me another tunnel option. I didn't really understand their Cloudflare for SaaS, but so I'm not going to spend any time on that. Let me go back one more page. Now we're back to today's. They've now set up a zero trust terminal in your browser. This is very interesting if you're still SSHing into anything. Right now it is only SSH. It sounds like they're going to be adding in others in the future. They have this workers new, which I really didn't take a whole lot of look at. But then I didn't care much about NFTs. If you know what an NFT is, Dogecoin is doing really good today. And Bitcoin is way down. But this was what like lit me up today, was they now have database partners. This is one thing they didn't have before. So if you're building a Jamstack app, or you think you probably could, at this point, Cloudflare could be your provider. You've got hosting pages, you've got compute workers, and now you've got data storage, database clients. This, to me, is a big deal. Big deal.
Yeah.
So for anybody that's building things that need to be global, and you are not willing to re-architect, or if you are willing to re-architect your applications, I would, instead of taking a first look at the big three, I would come here first and see if it would fit. So that's nice. My rant. That's my rant on that. So Cloudflare.
Cloudflare, it is.
That's it. So, dang, we're close to the end too. I knew we were getting close. If you're still here with us live, thanks for hanging out. Go and give us a thumbs up while I'm thinking about it, so don't forget that. Go ahead and like the video. We'll see if we can get another 3 people to watch us in the next hour. It's a joke, sort of. By the way, am I too loud today? I had to change the volume on my microphone, and I noticed something. So if I've sounded okay, or if Victor and I sound about level, let us know in the chat, please. You've got, okay, thanks. You started a new gig this week. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're ready to go take a nap right now. I know it's been a busy week. You talked with somebody important this week, right?
With somebody, did I? With Kelsey.
Jeez.
It was 3 days ago. How can I remember? I mean, 3 days ago, man. I need to check my agenda and notes to know what I did 3 days ago. Yes, I spoke with Kelsey. Kelsey is...
It was actually 4 days ago now, but that's okay.
See? Yeah, he's awesome. He's very insightful. It's kind of, no matter how many times you listen to him, he's always capable of coming up with something unexpected.
Yep. Unlike us, probably. We could learn from him on that, or at least me. You're always insightful. I'm just trying to set things up for you.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I'm checking my notes here. Nope. Anything else on the notes? So, what's happening next week? I saw you already had videos ready for next week, but I didn't take a look at them because I want to be surprised too.
Yeah. 2 videos coming. It's a surprise, so I'm not going to say what it is.
No, that's fine. Because I'm not going to look either. I won't look until Tuesday. I will look at Thursdays on Tuesday, but I won't look before then. Mainly because I've got stuff going on. So,
I mean, the only thing I can say is that both of those videos were requested through comments. And one of those, I went so far not only to answer what was requested in comments like a month ago, but to join the company who does that.
Well, there you go. That's interesting. So you are still home this weekend. You're not going off to your other place. And are you recording this weekend? Are you locked down again?
Yeah. I mean, lockdown in our context now means that we cannot go outside of certain zones.
Oh.
So kind of country is divided into what would be states in US, right? Just much smaller. And where I usually go happens to be
outside the zone.
Outside.
Bummer. Well, at least
it's
you were
okay.
able to get there once.
Summer. It's not summer yet, so I don't suffer much.
How much longer till summer? 6 weeks?
No, 2 months.
8 weeks.
2,
okay.
3 depends 2 or 3 months depends how you count.
Okay.
When I can go and swim in a pool,
that's
without
summer.
dreading that action, that's summer. Yes.
Here, that will be about 6 weeks. So, all right. I 10 on chat today. That's live. Deserve a beer and a pizza. Did you even have anything to drink today? Oh, because you came out of your meeting, you didn't.
Yeah, I didn't. Shame on me. I need to eat now.
That's
something.
Fine. Well, yeah. Considering it's almost 8 o'clock, yes, you need to go eat. Are you done
mostly
for the day?
not because it's 8 o'clock, but because I have meetings. The last meeting finishes at 1:30.
Okay, so that means you've got 3 minutes before you go to another meeting.
No, I have half an hour.
You have half an hour. Okay. Well, then let's wrap this up so you have a little more time to go eat. We will be back next week. We just need to figure out how to stay away from meetings. And I'm trying to stay out of meetings too. That's another story for another day. That's pretty funny. Okay. So again, all the normal things. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. And we'll be back next Friday. Next Wednesday's podcast episode is with... Oh dear.
Don't ask me. I don't
Dan. It was I haven't edited it yet, so it's Dan from Testify. So that was a good.
Okay. Yeah.
A Kiwi living in Germany. Just keep it in context, and it'll all make sense, or maybe not. I don't know.
How can you go from a warm country to cold countries beyond my comprehension?
He told us.
Women.
His wife. Yep.
Yeah. Women or men, depending on your affiliation and sex. But yeah, that's always a reason.
Yep. Okay. Thanks, everybody. We will talk to you again next week. Thanks for hanging out with us live today if you were here with us live. If you've watched the replay, thanks for watching the replay. Again, check the links down below. I'll be sure to add in the Cloudflare one as well. There's a lot of interesting things coming out of Cloudflare right now. So check it out. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again next week.